is that there are really only two distributors, Rogers, Bell, right? Rogers owns Sportsnet, Bell owns TSM.
And they
They
both own the
own
Leafs.
they pretty much own everything, right? It's a very, very weird system. You have TELUS that is getting a little bit into it. You have Shaw that gets a little bit into it. Quebec Health. Like there's a lot of little companies that try, but again, Rogers is trying to buy Shaw, so they're trying to basically completely take over the market, and because they own Sportsnet, they're effectively stopping OneSoccer from being on their channel, from getting more exposure, from being on regular cable television, which is a necessity for exposure to people's households,
Mm-hmm.
for establishments and bars. It's a little bit easier than trying to set up Fubo or something like that, especially if, again, they're not a sports bar, so they don't have any intention of buying the commercial license for Fubo. It's something that they're doing that's really kind of suppressing, and their reasoning, this is verbatim, the reasoning for not putting it on there is that it doesn't have the viewership. Yeah, I like the boat isn't very full because you're not selling tickets either.
It's a weird reason. I mean, because you have to think Sportsnet when they use OneSoccer, it's for the Canada games, and you're going to tell me that when Canada was World Cup qualifying, they didn't get the views? That's a load of shit. They
Yeah.
would have, that's why people are bitching about it just being on OneSoccer with these upcoming friendlies. Do not sit there and say we didn't get the views. Now, the thing I'm wondering if they mean is the overall OneSoccer views. So if you don't include, or you can even include the Canada games, because with how many games they play for the CPL and the rewatches and the OneSoccer special show they have for the, I can't remember the name, but the where they have the three of them on the panel or whatever.
Yeah.
I think if you put them all together, sure, the viewership probably isn't huge. We're not going to argue that, but maybe that's what they're looking at is those specific numbers. There's this guy in Montreal who keeps making. I don't even know his name. I don't want to know his name, but he keeps making tweets about how OneSoccer's a flop or the Canadian. He really hates the CPL. In all honesty, he keeps making comments about how it's not thriving financially and all this shit here there. And I wonder if because he's made a tweet before about the subscriptions for OneSoccer, what they're like. He made a comment basically saying it's no way going to survive on how many people they're getting to subscribe to it. So I wonder if his numbers are what Rogers type thing has. You know what I mean? Like they're seeing a bigger analytics and they're saying we don't want anything to do with this because it's not doing us any good, other than the Canada games. Because the Canada games are giving them views. Because do not say that they're not, because that's a load of shit.
Yeah. Oh,
Are they getting you
absolutely.
the same amount of views as maybe your German leagues? Maybe not, but you're still getting a prime visitor. I mean, it's World Cup qualifiers. You can't tell me you weren't getting views during those. So I don't know where the actual statement is coming from. I would assume it's the overall OneSoccer subscription base is what they're on about, but
that's your problem. If you're looking at it in that way, you're gonna have that issue of, okay, well, we don't we don't have the viewership, we don't have the well the idea of getting on that channeling, that subscription basis is to bring those numbers up, is to showcase a CPL game of the week, to have just a dedicated
100%.
channel. Like they're not looking for the monetary support.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking just to be placed and listed, like TELUS does. Like TELUS has them on their TV networks,
Mm-hmm.
is to try to provide a way to generate more interest in the CPL. Because again, yeah, you'd be like, well, nobody's signing up. But the thing is that if you're like, I don't have a team in the CPL and I'm not hyper focused on the CPL, why would you sign up?
Exactly.
You're
It's
like,
a league, but it has no interest for you.
and that's and with all of them losing MLS, why would you not now try to find a way to jump on that and do something with Fubo? Because you are going to lose the MLS in less than a month.
Mm-hmm.
You're no longer going to have access to that through TSN.
No.
So you're silly to do it that way. The World Cup is coming, so you're going to have a lot of fervor coming in, and people are going to be very much all for Canada. It's a very silly move, and it just shows Rogers doesn't really like they care about immediate monetary gain. Like we see that all the time through through their acquisitions of Shaw, which are being shut down because they're anti-competitive to begin with. Then through just the nature of that shutdown, right? They were like, oh, sorry, we'll give you like $9 for not being able to call 911. Sorry, Grand's dead though. Like,
It's weird. Like I mean, Rogers. It's like you said, they monopolize all of fucking Canada really when it comes to TV and really everything else internet. I mean, obviously there's other options for people, especially if you're in Quebec. There is a little bit more of a flex, but
mhm.
if you're outside Quebec, you're basically stuck to Rogers or Bell, or it is disappointing to see. And at this point, for the CPL's sake, fuck Rogers, fuck Bell, hit up CBC, get a fucking game on CBC once a week
Yeah,
to make it a soccer day in Canada.
I
We need
personally
something like
think
that.
I personally think they really should be doing more with the CBC based on the nature, but CBC still relies on Bell and still relies on Rogers for distribution. Like at the end of the day, they still rely, or they got to
Mhm.
do online streaming. This is what they're doing now, and it'd be
So I
no
think
different.
I think maybe what we're saying is for the future, we might need OneSoccer to literally just let go of the CPL for it to get on TV at this point. Because I mean, to be fair though, you look at every other subscription, it's how we're going now. Who I mean, sure, there's still a popularity that watches cable, especially sports. Sports, if it's on TV, people would way rather watch on cable than the streaming services. I can vouch for that. Last night, I missed the Bills game because I didn't have the zone and I couldn't get a good stream, illegally. But I mean, when you have all these streaming platforms, you're forcing people to
Huh.
literally do it.
Yep,
So
and you can't go to certain establishments because you don't know which ones have it and which ones don't. You don't know what bar has that game or what one's going to
yep.
have that game to be able to play it. It's not so simple as like, I'll just go out. I'll just go out and watch it because you don't know. And Premier League watchers know this very well in Canada. When it used to be Sportsnet World, and
Yep.
then it became DAZN, and then it became, like it just,
No, it's on Fubu, yeah.
yeah, you
But
have all of
Fubu did it
your,
right though, because Fubu, when they got the rights to the Premier League, they went around to bars giving out free subscriptions, saying, "Hey, we understand what we're doing to you. Here's a free subscription so you can still show the games."
yeah, and on
Beautiful.
top of that too, they have other programming to make it worthwhile. So they have
Exactly.
TV shows, they have other things in there to make it worthwhile to buy, so your family can watch it. You can
And
have
it's a lot
multiple
bigger in the
people.
States as well, eh?
Huge,
Like in the
massive.
States, it's basically a new cable
Oh,
subscription
it is. It's.
where,
Don't even get me fucking. I was like, look at all this stuff, and I was
oh, I
hyping it
know.
all up, and I'm like, oh, I gotta pay for this subscription, and then I was like, oh, we don't have it. Okay,
You get it,
well,
and
that
it's like
sucks.
6 channels, but still, we get the Premier League. We
Because
get
like
One
I got
Soccer.
it for Copa Libertadores. I didn't even
Yes,
get it
yes,
for the Premier League, and I was
yes,
like,
they have it on there, yeah.
oh, we don't get that up
But
here.
they also have the
That's fine.
Turkish league. They have
The French
um
league, they have the
Paramount
Italian
Paramount
league.
Channel, not Paramount Plus. They have the baseball. If you're into baseball, like
Yeah,
Fubu's a good thing if you're going to use it, and it's not a bad option. I believe it is cheaper than the Zone as well.
yeah.
It's
Which is
just
it makes more sense, and I think at the end of the day, what's gonna happen is we're gonna end up getting, like, we're really at the end of the day, we're gonna get like a conglomerate in that way, and I'm totally
mhm.
fine with it. But I think the CPL does need to not necessarily move on because Fubo brings in OneSoccer. They're doing it so as Fubo expands, they're doing well too. It's just a scenario that I think they have to look at the validity of it. Rogers is, you just can't rely on them anymore. But what you can rely on is the new release squad for the Canadian men's national team. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the video here, or there, wherever it is. And make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our sweet, sweet Canadian content.